All right, I think we can go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you, Holly. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hospital for Special Care Joy of Art Juried Photography Exhibition. I am Olivia Reed, in case I haven't met you before. I am the co-chair of the Joy of Art Committee and the Volunteer Services and Community Relations Coordinator at Hospital for Special Care. On behalf of myself, the other co-chair, Holly Randall, and our amazing Joy of Art Committee volunteers, we have worked hard and are very excited to be able to have our Juried Photography exhibition again. Though we're not able to gather together for an in-person reception as we normally do, we're delighted to be able to have this all together for a virtual reception. Before I welcome our juror, I want to ask everyone who is in attendance to please sign our guest book in the chat and let us know how you heard about the Joy of Art Juried Photography exhibition. Please feel free to write any comments, questions in the chat. In addition, we'll have time at the end for questions and comments. I am now pleased to welcome and introduce Christine Breslin as the juror of the Joy of Art Juried Photography exhibition. Christine is a documentary and fine art photographer and educator whose primary interests are women, family issues, and immigration. With decades of teaching at higher education institutes across Connecticut, Christine revels in sharing the joy of both analog and digital photography, along with photographic storytelling with her students. Her career began as an independent photojournalist at editorial publications and nonprofit organizations. Christine has exhibited still photography and video projects in more than 30 venues nationally, including the New Britain Museum of American Art, where her work is held in a permanent collection. Welcome and thank you, Christine.
Hi, great to be here. It was really fun to see the work when it was hung, so it looked really good. I guess what I do, would you like me to start talking about the prizes or what would you like me to do?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with who our winners are.
Okay. So you were going to show the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Right here.
Wait, that's the honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting with that. Okay. I have it listed backwards here, so just bear with me for a second.
That's okay.
Okay, so I really liked this image because I was drawn to the warm light of the image. And one of the things that gives me a lot of joy is the type of light that's seen in a photograph, as well as the subject. And so the forsythia in this was definitely symbolic of spring, which we definitely felt today with the temperature being almost 80 it was, I'm not sure. But also, I really like the glass vases and the different levels of water that I saw. And I just thought it was really beautiful. Okay, the next one here is by Gayleen Plakunov. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I really like this one. One of the things I tried to do is connect joy to each image. So in this particular one, when I saw the sailboat in the water with the fog surrounding it, I imagined it was the early hours of the day. And I can imagine the fog coming through and seeing right before the daylight hits it, this beautiful magical image. And I really thought that it was just a perfect moment to make the image. And it looked just very quiet and peaceful and beautiful. Okay, this one is third place. And I really got fascinated with this image because I felt like at first when I looked at it, it looked very much like a watercolor. And then when I got in closer and looked at the details, I was thinking about not only the warmth of the image and the colors that were in it, but the way the rose is placed and the jar is off to the side a bit. I like the way it was balanced. And I felt that it sort of is like an aging rose here. And the texture of it reminded me of the wrinkles that you see on people that are getting older. I can really relate to this, but sometimes I find looking at people's skin and then looking at the texture of the petals, it reminded me of that so much. And I just felt it was really well done. So that was a great image to look at and keep my eyes on. Okay, second place by John Lee. One of the things that I feel joy in is connecting with nature. And I felt that this particular image really connected me with nature. In fact, I felt like I was literally standing in the photograph because of the angle of view and the connection with the waterfall. I could almost feel the power of the waterfall and almost feel droplets as if they were hitting me when I was looking at it. But the other thing I really loved was the way that you were able to capture the water using a slow shutter speed, making it look like velvet or silk rather than the actual water. So it has many layers to it. And that's one of the reasons why I picked it. And then for first place, I was really captured by this one because, first of all, the size and scale of it, it was a large image in the middle of all the other images, but it was also in black and white, which is a little more unusual these days because we tend to photograph everything in color, but I love black and white. I'm an old film photographer as well as traditional, and I also do digital, but black and white, there's something classic about it. And so when I saw this image, I thought about how dancing brings joy to people and being able to convey that joy through this image and just the way she's moving and reaching and the way her feet are placed. I just really love that feeling of stretching or dancing. And then the light, the way she's backlit really worked pretty well on this image too. I was fascinated by the gigantic clock, and I want to know where it was taken. So I thought it was really wonderful. So those are my prize winners there.
Well, congratulations to everybody who won, and thank you everyone who submitted.
Right.
We want to just give everybody a chance who submitted to talk about their pieces. So maybe we can start with the first prize.
Sure. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Christine. The funny thing is, like, my history with the Hospital of Special Care, it's like I way back, I think I submitted for 2 years and I kept getting rejected. And then after 2 years, I got invited to jury. And of course, it's funny. It's like, we'd love to have you jurying. And, it was interesting. It's like, it's fun. It's like, you got rejected twice a year. And now I'm jurying it. And so I have about a 5-year history or 4-year history with your place. And thank you so much for this. This is, so just a little bit, I don't want to talk a lot about it, but I had the opportunity to, she's my friend, Megan, who is a ballerina. And we had the opportunity to work in Paris in 2019. And we actually were invited to do a series of pieces in the Rodin Museum. So basically they closed the museum for us for 1 day.
Oh my God.
And we spent 14 days in there. So out of that, I had a couple ideas that I wanted to do. And this particular piece, which is in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, which used to be a train station back in the day, and now it's the Impressionist Museum. I first saw that clock, I think in 2005. And I saw there was a mother and a child in there and taking, not selfies, because I don't think cell phones were really that, but they were taking a picture in front of and I thought this would be beautiful with somebody who dances in front of it. So this is
Mhm.
kind of a statement in my mind. And also, since 2005 to 2009, so it took 14 years for this thing to happen. And the way this is, so there are two gigantic clocks. And they're in the Musée d'Orsay now. It used to be the train station, and we had to go in. We were online and we bought tickets. We got in there and we shot for about less than a minute. We had to be super ready because then we were the first people online. So then 2 minutes later, we're talking about 50,000 people marching through this and taking selfies, right? So I wanted this kind of quiet and the time. So another thing, she wasn't wearing anything underneath, and she was worried about, oh my God, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna change, but I'm nude underneath, and everybody's gonna see me. And let's do it. So it was fast. And out of, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 shots, this one is, I think, the one that just came out, and I was hoping one of them would come up, and I think this one come up. Now, the other relationship that I think it's very interesting and sad and beautiful with this place is that I don't know if you watched the documentary called "The Rape of Europa," which is about the looting of it's a phenomenal documentary. I think it's on Netflix or Amazon, where they basically they're talking about how the Nazis they just took everything out of Paris and they're transporting to Berlin, and this train station was the train station where the Parisian Jews, I think 45,000 Parisian Jews were sent to death camps. And every time I walk into the d'Orsay Museum, I'm thinking, look what a place of beauty and joy. There's Monet and there's Manet and there's Rodin and all these things, and all these people coming in. Do they know that 42,000 Parisians left to their death? I think only 40 returned, and they returned to on the same station. So there's a lot of history. So the idea of like the time and beauty and kind of the cruelty of history. So all this stuff, I wanted to go beyond a selfie in front of the giant clock. So there's a lot of stuff in there.
You did.
Yeah. So that's where I am with this, and that's what I thought I did. And of course, without Megan, this wouldn't have been, because it's almost like her arms are part of that her arms they're a new clock arms, in a way,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's from my perspective.
Well, they're really beautiful. And I also like the other framing device that's in there besides the circle. There's like a rectangle. What is that?
You know what that is? That is those are some steel things to support the building, because the building is crumbling.
Oh,
So ideally they look good. And I think without them, that clock would look better, but you can't get rid of them. So basically that holds the building together, because I think the train station was built in the early 1800s.
okay.
So it was just a quick, we knew everything had to be in place. We knew everything where it was going, and it was snap, 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 and then out.
Yeah. Well, you were able to capture it, and just, you have a different history with it because you understand the past and what happened there. But since I don't have that,
Right.
I just felt a different kind of connection to it. So,
But one thing I think, Christina, and it's like, I think and I'm not talking about my stuff, I'm talking about in general, that, you're talking about the water, like John's photo. And I think that a good work of art, when it happens, and it doesn't happen that often, I think it's not done intentionally, because again, when I did this, I had no idea what was going to happen. So it's almost comes out when it comes up, but almost without the intention, or maybe the intentions are different. If it stays open, then it allows the viewer, like whatever you saw in it, and I know Wendy, what do you see in it, or anybody, like same thing that I see in the other works. If I look at your works and I look at that flower, you're talking about aging, so everybody, so if the room is open enough to allow to insert your personal narrative and give you room for you to participate in this viewing act, I think that's a successful thing versus the artist telling you, this is what it's about, this is the only truth, and take it.
Right, yeah, that's boring sometimes, yep.
We all like, if it's a dialogue between me as an artist and the viewer recognizes something in there, it's the cliche, which is not that much of a cliche, where basically you're turning a personal experience into some sort of a universal every love poem has been written before, so why should I write another love poem? Well, because it's mine,
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to stop because I'm talking too much, but that's where I am with this.
Well,
So
you
I
had very good
appreciate it, and I
things to
thank you so
say.
much.
Oh, sure, and you had great things to say. I'm glad you talked about them.
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much for sharing. That's
Thank you,
really
Wendy.
interesting,
Thank you.
always hearing from the artist's perspective, what their intention was behind it.
Thank you.
All right. Does John want to speak a little bit, or Olivia want to speak a little bit about this piece?
Yes, thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. My name is John. My work means that HFSC contribute to society just as the morning sunlight seeps into the waterfall.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. This
Okay.
effort can't pause.
Well, you knew what you were doing with your shutter to create that beautiful soft effect with the water.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it feels like silk. It's beautiful.
It does. It's very beautiful. And also your angle of view, it makes you feel like you're part of the image. So I think you did and plus there are different textures there. I mean, I could just keep going on and on, but it's just nature always brings me joy. So I was really connecting with your image on many different levels.
Was it shot in Connecticut, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Kent Falls and Kent Falls.
Oh, Kent Falls.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Very
Yes.
nice.
Interesting. Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, does Linda want to speak a little bit about her piece?
Sure. Thank you so much. I am so grateful and honored for this. I remember when I first got this rose, it was this beautiful fresh white rose, and there was a lot of beauty to it. And then as it aged, Christine, you were right on with with your point about that. You saw what I had seen, and the aging of the rose, it didn't take away from the beauty it had previously had, but there were so many more layers to it, and even its fragility made it that much more precious. And I just wondered, was the rose wistful about its previous beauty? But in reality, the beauty, it exists on a continuum, right? So while it changes, it remains. And that's why I have a special place in my heart for this little rose.
Right. I definitely can relate to it for many reasons, but the color too is really very soft. And I like that. It also made me relate again to the aging of the rose because they tend to turn brown. But I even like the jar, the contrast of the textures looked really beautiful.
Thank you.
It reminds me of a Dürer etching, where it's so like sophisticated, and it's like, goes beyond it is a photograph, but it goes beyond it has that kind of or a Japanese or a Chinese kind of, like it has that kind of a antique, but in a good way. There's
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it transcends the medium, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, at first it went from a distance, it almost looks like a watercolor.
Right, that
Mm.
too.
Then I came in and I kept kind of going back and forth because I love the edges of it too,
Mm.
the way
Right.
they're turning. So yeah, everything about it is just very beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sure, sure.
And our next one, Gayleen, if you want to share anything. I think I saw her here. Maybe she stepped out.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, I think your sound might be going in and out.
Yeah, are you muted?
How's that? Is that better?
Oh,
Yeah.
there we
Yeah,
go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So this was taken on the Connecticut River in Middletown, and it was, as you said, Christine, it was very early in the morning, and the river, because it was autumn, the river was still warm, and the nights were starting to get cooler, so we got some really, really intense mist coming up off the river that would burn off as the sun came up. And I had been passing by this at various times, and I kept saying, I need to capture that image. I need to capture that image. So the opportunity arose the day of the time change, and I had an extra hour on my Sunday morning before I went to my dad's to see him, and I stopped off and I was able to capture this. And then it was much more misty. I played with it a little bit in Lightroom to lift the boat up out of the mist, just enough that you could really see the detail in the boat. But then I've been really pleased with this particular piece.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful and very moody. And the fog just gives it that ethereal feel, you know? And again, it's one of those images where you're connecting with nature through the water and the mist. And it feels so peaceful.
Yeah, it was that quiet moment at the start of the day, you know,
Right.
where you can kind of gather your thoughts and you can kind of, you know, get ready to face the oncoming chaos of the day. At least that's usually how it goes for me.
I know, yeah, me too. Beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing. And our last one. Ellen, would you like to share anything?
This was taken at the Philadelphia Flower Show. I love going to flower shows because they tend to be right after a long winter and they tend to be beautiful. But I saw this exhibit and I thought, oh, I love the light. I loved, as the juror said, the warmth of the light. And I love the shadows that the forsythia made. So I took the photograph and this is how it came out.
Nice. And this was at the show, right?
Yes.
It was really interesting to see the different levels of water too. But
Yes.
forsythia, I always feel like when I see the forsythia, there's hope.
Exactly.
Definitely spring.
Exactly. That's how I felt that spring is here.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad that you shared that with us because the warmth in it, I love it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing. It's always really interesting to hear, the stories behind each piece. You know, each photo really tells a story on its own, but it's always interesting to hear from the artist's perspective.
Right.
Well, I just want to open up the floor to everybody. If you have any questions for the juror, for any of the artists, you can feel free to either put it in the chat box or just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. So I'll just sit back for a couple minutes and let you guys think a little bit.
Thank you so much.
I have a quick question. Will the recording be available on the HFSC website, or will we get a link for that?
You'll get a link for it. So I'll post
Okay.
it on probably YouTube, and I'll make sure to send the link out to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
No, I think that the fact that the exhibit takes place in the hospital And, in terms of the visibility, and I think such a, COVID aside, but I think it's just such a great a venue to share and to brighten up a little bit.
Yeah,
It's just a good place for it. And
it
it's
is
been a good place
perfect.
for it every year. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It really does make a big difference. All of our employees, the visitors, and especially the patients love to see it. It really brightens up the space at the
Yeah.
hospital, and I mean, it makes a difference to the healing journey.
Right.
Mhm.
That's important.
Yeah.
I have a question for Christine.
Oh,
Christine,
sure.
I believe that you teach some classes. Is that right?
Yep.
Do you think see more students coming back, or when the pandemic hit, people stayed away from different in-person classes? Hopefully that's changing now, or?
Yeah, I mean, this semester I had an in-person class, so that was so much better because I did hybrid and I did an online, and I felt they were both almost total disasters because it's hard to get people to communicate and participate, and people were, technically challenged, and because it was the beginning of Zoom, so, and we didn't use Zoom, but it was the same kind of format. And by the time the end of the semester came, it was kind of a bit of a nightmare, but some people got something out of it. So that's all I really was concerned with. But it was tough. I think it was tough on the students.
Now, when you have an in-person class, are people kind of segregated by a certain distance or not? Or
Yes. We have I think there are 27-inch Macs. So what they did was they have one Mac that's not being used and then a Mac that's being used. So they had the spaces between the people separated by at least 3 feet.
Oh, great.
And then they weren't facing each other, but they were just facing the screen. So the possibility of spreading germs was much less. And also it was only, I think it was in April or I don't know, middle of April that they took the mask requirement away. So everybody was masked up.
Okay, great.
But it
Thank
looks
you.
like we're going to go through another one. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know for sure.
So the show stays up until June 30th, correct?
Yes, till
Okay.
June 30th. Yep.
Great. Well, you
And-
should have some more shows like this. I think they're really great. I don't know if it'll be good for you, but I think it's great for the people
you.
that are there, just to see a changing wall occasionally,
Does the hospital still has the ability or the financial to purchase works from the shows, or how? I know some, like Craig Frederick, my friend, has a sculpture there. So if that's still available, or in terms of available, is that still a part of are you still buying works for the hospital for their permanent collection?
So we actually receive a lot of donations from
okay.
artists, and we have quite a nice collection that we allow our employees to put up in their offices and our patients to put up on their units and in their rooms. So we're really lucky to get those donations. So our walls are beautiful all year long.
Good. It's important, like you said, for the healing journey. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I think that pretty much concludes our show. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, all of our artists, for submitting to our show. It really makes a big difference. You can view our virtual show online. The link is joyofartphoto.givesmart.com. I'll make sure to put that in the chat box too. And of course, you'll receive all emails about that as well. Like I mentioned, it'll be up until June 30th, so you got some time to browse. A lot of the artwork is also for sale, which you can purchase right on that website if you're interested. A portion of the proceeds goes back to the Joy of Art program at the hospital, which supports all of our community programs and all of our programs we do with our patients. You can also make a donation on that website, which goes to the Joy of Art program. Essentially what we do, for those who are not familiar, we host a number of community and patient programs as it relates to the arts. And we really believe that art is part of the healing journey, and it makes a difference in rebuilding lives. In addition, we also host numerous exhibitions throughout the year. So we do this one, our photography show, and we also do a juried art show. And then we feature a number of works and artists throughout the rest of the year.
Great.
Yeah, well,
So
thank you.
You do have a lot of spaces being used up for
Yes,
art.
we
That's
do.
great.
Yeah, it's important to have it changing, and we love to partner up with the community and have people show off their work.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you all so much for coming.
Okay, thanks so
Thank
much.
Thank you
everybody.
again.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet everybody.
Bye.
All
Thank you
right,
so
take
much.
care.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.